In the Middle Ages, when hunger hit hard, people didn't just eat scraps or dirt. They turned to something most of us wouldn't even touch today: crawling, squirming things that some swore kept them alive when nothing else could. But what exactly were they eating when even rats were gone? For starters, they didn't have to look far. Beetles were everywhere. They lived in wood piles, thatched roofs, and under fallen logs. These armored insects scurried about their daily business, completely unaware of their culinary destiny. The hard shells created problems, though. You couldn't just crunch down on a beetle like biting an apple. Medieval folks roasted them over open flames to soften those tough exteriors and kill parasites hiding inside. At least beetles came with their own natural packaging. Some people crushed the roasted insects into rough powder. This beetle flour mixed into gruel or got pressed into oat cakes. Meal beetles and bark beetles were the most common types people ate. Why choose beetles? They packed serious protein and fat content that starving bodies desperately needed. Plus, they were free and didn't require special hunting skills. The only hunting involved was lifting logs and hoping your dinner didn't scurry away too fast. The preparation process became almost ceremonial. Everyone gathered around fires, roasting batches together. The smell was nutty, but slightly bitter. Most people focused on nutrition rather than flavor, though explaining the crunching sounds at dinner became unnecessary after a while. But beetles were just one option in the growing menu of survival foods. Green and jumping, grasshoppers filled summer gardens like tiny acrobats. During good times, people shooed them away. During bad times, those same people started viewing grasshoppers very differently. Catching these bouncing insects required real skill. They moved faster than startled rabbits. Early morning worked best when cold air made them sluggish, like people getting out of bed on winter mornings. The only time grasshoppers weren't jumping around was when they were too cold to escape your dinner plans. Preparation started with removing legs and wings. Nobody wanted spindly grasshopper parts stuck between their teeth. Boiling was the favorite cooking method, turning bright green insects soft and less intimidating. Dried grasshoppers opened new possibilities. Ground into powder, they created protein-rich flour that mixed with regular grain. This stretched food supplies while adding valuable nutrition. Medieval protein powder that actually used to hop around gardens. The choice between grasshoppers and spoiled meat was easy. Clean protein versus rotting flesh made grasshoppers seem like a feast. Most accounts described them as nutty and earthy. Not amazing, but far from terrible. Storage presented challenges since fresh grasshoppers spoiled quickly. Drying solved this problem, creating protein that lasted weeks. At least dried grasshoppers stayed put instead of hopping out of storage containers. However, grasshoppers weren't the richest prize hiding in the countryside. Deep inside wasp nests lay the ultimate prize of medieval insect cuisine. These soft white grubs contained more fat and protein than any other option. Getting to them meant dealing with very angry adult wasps first. Medieval people developed smoking techniques to calm entire nests. Small fires beneath wasp nests made adult wasps drowsy and less aggressive. Nothing like a little smoke to make wasps reconsider their home security system. Timing was critical. Spring and early summer offered the best harvesting when larvae were plump and juicy. Wait too long and you'd find empty cells instead of fat grubs. The larvae looked like small white rice grains, soft, clean, and surprisingly appealing compared to other insects. They needed minimal preparation since they had no hard shells or bitter tastes. Finally, an insect that didn't require a hammer to eat. These grubs were incredibly rich in fat. During famines, when people burned through stored energy quickly, dietary fat became crucial for survival. Medieval cooks added larvae to warm porridge or soup, where they absorbed flavors while adding creamy texture. The fat content was so valuable that families often saved them for pregnant women and sick children who needed extra calories for recovery or growth. The medieval equivalent of premium baby food, except it came with angry flying parents. Yet even these prized larvae couldn't match the unique challenges of another abundant insect. Ants presented a different puzzle in survival eating. Unlike other insects you could catch individually, ants came in massive armies. You either caught thousands at once or went home empty-handed. These tiny insects covered landscapes like moving carpets. People dug into anthills with sticks and scooped ants into baskets. Others swept marching formations from forest floors. At least ants were polite enough to line up in organized groups for easier collection. But ants had a secret weapon: formic acid. This created incredibly sour tastes that could pucker your mouth for hours. Boiling became essential for making ants edible. Extended cooking broke down the acid, transforming mouth-numbing sourness into something tolerable. Some people actually enjoyed the sour flavor, crushing boiled ants to create tangy seasonings. Medieval hot sauce for people who really earned their spice. Different ant species offered varying experiences. Large black ants provided more meat, but were harder to catch in quantity. Smaller red ants were easier to gather in bulk. The protein content impressed medieval people. A handful contained as much protein as a chicken egg. During famines, when chickens stopped laying, ant protein filled that crucial gap. Though explaining why your omelet was moving took some getting used to, but not all insect food required such organized group efforts. Woodlice were the lazy person's answer to survival food. No hunting expeditions, no dangerous raids, no complex strategies. These small, gray creatures simply waited under damp logs and stones. Finding woodlice took almost no skill. Every pile of rotting wood harbored hundreds. Stone walls and thatched roofs provided perfect hiding spots. The only insects that seemed to understand the concept of staying in one place when dinner time arrived. But they lived in dirty conditions and carried harmful bacteria. Proper cooking became essential. Boiling killed bacteria and removed excess moisture. Some preferred dry frying, which created crunchier textures and nuttier flavors. The texture surprised first-time eaters. Cooked woodlice felt crunchy, similar to roasted sunflower seeds. Many found this more acceptable than other insect alternatives. Medieval cooks developed two approaches. Some added whole woodlice to thick stews like tiny dumplings. Others ground them into paste and mixed with scarce meat scraps to stretch protein supplies. The medieval version of stretching your grocery budget one woodlouse at a time. Year-round availability made woodlice particularly valuable during harsh winters. While other insects died off or hibernated, woodlice remained active under their protective logs. Finally, insects with a decent work ethic during the cold months, but even the convenience of woodlice couldn't compare to the desperate measures some took when facing dire circumstances. When medieval desperation reached rock bottom, people turned to the most revolting option imaginable. Maggots represented the absolute last resort when every other food source had disappeared. These writhing white grubs appeared wherever death and decay existed. Rotting meat, compost heaps, and dead livestock became crawling masses of larvae. Collection required overcoming incredible disgust. Maggots lived in nauseating conditions, decomposing flesh, waste, rotting garbage. Many starving people simply couldn't force themselves to gather these creatures. Even hunger had standards, and maggots tested those limits daily. Washing became life and death. Multiple rinses removed the worst contamination, though nothing eliminated all risks. The reason for choosing something so revolting was simple: fat content. Maggots were incredibly rich in fats and proteins that could mean survival. Cooking requires mental strength as much as skill. Boiling transformed writhing maggots into motionless white lumps, helping psychologically. Medieval accounts describe surprisingly rich, creamy tastes due to high fat content. Proof that proper cooking could make almost anything edible, emphasis on almost. The psychological challenge often proved harder than eating. Many vomited immediately after swallowing, losing precious calories they desperately needed. The irony of losing your meal because your meal was too disgusting to keep down. Yet even this extreme desperation wasn't the most dangerous approach to insect eating. Caterpillars turned survival into a deadly guessing game. Some species were perfectly safe and nutritious. Others contained enough poison to kill within hours. The problem was telling them apart. These soft-bodied larvae appeared everywhere during growing seasons. Berry bushes, cabbage patches, and fruit trees harbored colorful specimens munching on leaves and fruit. Nature's colorful warning system that looked more like a rainbow than a danger sign. The danger came from their diet. Caterpillars that ate poisonous plants absorbed those toxins into their bodies. Eating them meant getting concentrated plant poisons. Visual clues provided some guidance, but weren't foolproof. Brightly colored caterpillars often signaled toxicity. Fuzzy or spiny species contained irritating chemicals that burned mouths and throats. Fresh consumption was essential since caterpillars spoiled faster than any other insect. Their soft bodies decomposed within hours in warm weather, meaning immediate cooking with no storage options. The ultimate fast food, eat it fast or don't eat it at all. Taste varied wildly based on what each caterpillar ate. Those feeding on sweet fruits tasted mild and pleasant. Others consuming bitter leaves carried strong, unpleasant flavors. You really were what you ate, especially when what you ate had been eating other things. Some communities developed local knowledge about safe species, though this information wasn't always accurate. Hungry people had to weigh immediate starvation against potential poisoning. But sometimes nature provided such abundance that safety concerns became secondary. When locust swarms descended, they brought both devastation and opportunity. These insects devoured entire harvests in days, but also delivered massive amounts of protein to clever harvesters. Locust swarms were overwhelming in scale. Millions darkened skies like storm clouds, covering every surface. The only dinner that announced its arrival by blocking out the sun. Catching locusts during swarms required almost no skill. Simple cloth nets captured hundreds with each sweep. Children beat bushes with sticks, knocking locusts into baskets faster than they could count. Processing enormous quantities demanded organization. Families worked together, some removing wings and legs while others focused on quick cooking to prevent spoilage. Medieval assembly line production, except the products kept trying to fly away. Drying became the preferred preservation method. Locusts spread on wooden platforms in sunlight lasted months. Roasting brought out nutty flavors, while ground powder mixed well with grain flours for protein-enriched bread. Swarms arrived unpredictably and vanished just as suddenly. Smart communities learned to process enormous quantities quickly when opportunities arose. The ultimate limited-time offer that came with its own natural disaster marketing campaign. Trading emerged when swarms affected large regions. Communities with surplus dried locusts could trade with neighbors who missed the harvest. But while dramatic swarms provided occasional windfalls, another protein source was available daily in ordinary places. The most common insect protein never required hunting or special preparation. It lived right inside the flour, baked into daily bread whether people wanted it there or not. Medieval flour storage created perfect insect habitats. Beetle larvae burrowed through grain kernels. Weevils laid eggs inside wheat berries. Small moths deposited larvae throughout storage areas. Mill grinding made separation impossible. Stone wheels crushed everything together. Grain, insects, larvae, and eggs all became flour. Medieval technology lacked fine sieves to remove tiny insects. The original whole grain flour, complete with extra protein that nobody ordered. During famines, people stopped removing visible bugs before baking. Why waste valuable protein? Baking temperatures killed all insects safely, while the high heat eliminated bacteria and parasites. Most insects were so small they disappeared into bread texture, becoming invisible supplements. The flavor impact was minimal. Most people couldn't detect their presence. Medieval fortified bread, courtesy of uninvited kitchen guests. The irony was striking. People spent enormous effort catching obvious insects while unknowingly consuming thousands daily through regular bread. During extended famines, these accidental insects provided crucial amino acids that helped prevent malnutrition diseases. The bread that ate bugs, so people didn't have to know they were eating bugs. Medieval survival required creativity, courage, and strong stomachs. But even insects couldn't always fill empty bellies when desperate times called for increasingly desperate measures.